Okay. Hello. Hello. Ooh, welcome, welcome. Um, so much energy right now. So we're just gonna like allow things to settle in and give time for folks to come in. You know how we do as you come in, please say hello to everybody in the soul family because you are entering into sacred space with everybody. Let us know where you are joining from and what you are sipping on. I will start. My name is Jynnette the Oracle. I am sipping on matcha latte with a beautiful microphone. I'll see if I can show it. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh, she's getting her microphone
Yeah.
down.
Now this is with the hand frother. I've been preserving the foaming with the espresso machine just for espresso drinks. Because it's like a whole process to get that machine warmed up and everything. So, but yeah, so that's what I'm drinking, and I am joining from Los Angeles, California.
Lovely. I am drinking, again, Kenyan black tea, a little bit of cream, and I am in Los Angeles, California.
Thank you, thank you. See, Alicia Curl is joining. Good morning, good afternoon from New Jersey, drinking water. Come through with the water. I got mine too. Always got this on deck. Beautiful. But yeah, so we'll let folks come in as they are coming in.
I'm going to grab my water.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thanks, Jersey, for reminding me. Hold on.
Yes. Mm-hmm. But I hope all of you are doing well. I hope that you, for those of you who are here in the United States, we had our Martin Luther King Jr. holiday yesterday. So I hope that you actually were able to enjoy it as a holiday and you didn't have to work. If you did work, I hope that it was easeful and graceful for you. I definitely made a choice to rest because in my mind I was like, oh, I can still get some work done and just make it like a light day. Inner wisdom was throwing a tantrum. It was just like, it's a federal holiday, sit your ass down. So yeah, I took the day off.
Yay.
Took the day off. And the internal war stopped at that point. So I was just like, okay, let me respect the process right now.
Very nice. Ooh, respect the process. We could just talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, I dipped on that a little bit. I just posted on Facebook and Instagram about celebrating the fact that I was able to create microfoam for a latte drink that I had done. And this was only my second time of being able to do it. The entire time I've had this espresso machine, like it's been so hard to figure out the mechanics. Like, and it's so frustrating because just like I get and I understand it, but yeah, it's just constant practice. So
I was going to say, and you're such a scientist. You really are. You're such a scientist. So I bet it was so frustrating for you to be like, why can't I get the heat just right to get the foam just
right? Like, I mean, I've had this machine for like at this point over a year now, and I've only now just been able to do foam twice in a row. Like it's just like the bane of my existence with this. So, but I was so excited, so I took a picture and I posted it. But I was one of the things I mentioned in that was like, just because I did it twice doesn't mean that that there is skill and mastery.
Ooh, can we talk about that?
Just because I did something twice,
so better.
Oh,
I didn't all this time. I'm like, just pull the shade down. Just because you did it twice doesn't mean it's a skill yet, even.
Yes.
And definitely not mastery.
Yeah.
I think that's just a word right there. That just needs to be a post of yours. Just because you did it twice. I feel that that's kind of rampant in American culture anyways right now, from what I can see. I take one workshop on ancestral healing and I know everything about ancestral healing, and then I go teach or label myself expert, right? Or, I see a lot in the coaching industry right now where, you get your certification, but then you're labeling yourself a master coach. You're not a master coach because you got a certification, because you did your training. you know? I feel like because we live in this informational age where there's just access and quick access and immediate gratification, that there is this assumption and a lack of respect for how much time it takes, the commitment it takes, and the actual repetition, right, that it takes in order to master something. And the masters that I know don't call themselves masters anyways, right? So I find it really interesting, this whole concept of I'm a master, or I'm, giving yourself a label after you've really maybe learned something for the first time. That being said, I love that what's happening is that we're falling out of this paradigm that believes you have to do 20 years of something in order to even begin to come out and start, playing with it in space. So there's this middle ground, but I feel like there's a lack of respect for really what it takes in order to master something, in order to embody the practice of something, embody the essence of whatever that thing is. Yeah, I see that a lot. And I see that a lot in the coaching industry. I see it a lot in the spiritual industry.
Every industry, business.
Every industry, actually, yeah. When I think about it, I'm like, it's actually everywhere. I mean, part of that is due to, social media, I think.
It's the culture, because it was there before.
You're right.
It's just, it's the average white man syndrome.
Right.
It's like, I've done this, so it's just like, now I have to sell, and people are only going to respect me if I'm in proximity to greatness, or if I present myself as great, rather than just the truth of who I am, and being real and honest about where I am in my process. So yeah, no, it's the culture. I think, definitely social media probably has exacerbated, but the roots are there.
That's true.
The young folks didn't create that.
That's true. That's why I was watching myself, not to be like all the, millennials and
because everybody, all of us who are this is our conversation. We are only entrepreneurs now. Right. But previously we've been working for people.
Right.
And we see and have seen the nepotism. We've seen, it's just like, what work have you put in? Like, how did you get that from, like, what? Mm-hmm. That's not new.
No, that's definitely that is definitely not new. But I think that, I don't know, because in some ways I want to encourage the folk that aren't average white men, right? To be like, nah, you got this. You studied it long enough. It's that, actually, I want you to embody a little bit of that, like just own it.
Yes.
Right? So there's that. It's a level of awareness, I think.
Yeah, it's both, because even when you train or go through a process or whatever, and you complete whatever that is, you are now beginning. And so you can begin because you've gone through the process, right? So yes, big up yourself, because a lot of people don't even finish. Right. So you have to honor that. You have to honor, like, no, I put time in on this, and I'm going to big up myself about it. But like you said, like using the term master when you only have a couple of years in and you don't have 10 or 20, it's like, no, you actually might want to step back, because you haven't lived long enough, and you haven't lived long enough with the thing.
It's like you said, once you have finished that curriculum or that training or that whatever it is, now you're a beginner.
Mm-hmm. Right.
This is now you've begun, right? Yeah, I think
so
important. And I think it's important too to really understand that. And that's not to be like, don't call yourself a master, or you don't know. It's not a negative. It's actually a positive, because we also, I think that's something that's rampant in this culture, is that we're not giving ourselves permission to be beginners.
I was literally just writing down, like, circle back around to our internal restrictions around this, because even if the external world doesn't do that, we will finish and then begin and then be like, I don't have the time. And it might be factually because of survival issues. I don't have the time to make a mistake or to learn. It's not safe for me to learn.
It's not safe for me to learn. And if I don't get this perfect, it means I'm not ready. Something's wrong with me. And it's like, no, you're a beginner. You better fall down. Like, mistakes are your friend. Having a beginner's mindset is your best friend. Like, really being open to, I don't know, curiosity. Wow, you know, like all of these things that gets cut off.
Yeah.
And with that being cut off, you're cutting off you are cutting off your power and your intuition and your actual knowingness that's already there. You're cutting it off because you're still trying to live up to this, I'm a master. I'm sorry, I just find it really funny. I'm being petty. But no, because it really, it's dangerous. It's like when I used to go to film festivals, right? And I'd have a film in the festival. And this wasn't every festival, but some festivals. And then the other films that it was with.
To congratulate and celebrate this flex.
Huh?
The flex of when I go to film festivals and I have a film. Yes.
Oh, darling, thanks. You know, well, you know, I've been a beginner many a times with filmmaking. Go to this festival and it's like, did you just take films just to get the money for the entry fees? I don't understand, because you're putting a certain caliber of films with a whole different caliber of films, telling them that they're on the same level. And that is a disservice to the artist, because they're thinking, I made it, or they're thinking, oh, well, I got in this festival. That means this is good enough. This is going to be my level of mastery, or this is my greatness level. And it's like, no. It really used to, I'm like, how dare you do this to the artist? Like, they need to understand that there's so much more growth to have so that they can come into their greatest becoming. But then when you're capping it with literally like the trashiest sound, bad writing, like maybe it looks amazing, but there's no good story there. No, this takes time. I'm still a novice when it comes to the filmmaking. You know, I won't say that as far as acting. But, you know, so it's like, humble yourself and give yourself the permission to still be a beginner so that you can be the sponge to soak up all of the yummy things that are there waiting for you to learn. Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh, those entry fees. I mean, but they need that to run. But it's like, you know, to your point, be more specific with your categories.
Yeah, when you're you can have a beginner's category or a new works or a new filmmakers category or something. But, and listen, I'm not a film festival programmer. I do not claim to know what they have to go through, right? And I've been to enough film festivals to see certain ones that are curated so powerfully. And there is a difference when you know when your caliber of work is with others' calibers of work. There's no fun in like, hey, here's an award, or hey, here's an acknowledgement, when you know the folk that you're amongst, there's not really any competition, right? Like it's not all things are not equal.
Yeah. So it's not steel sharpening steel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which also, I think, you know, when it even comes into collaborations in these spaces, right? See, I wasn't even trying to be petty. All you got to do is lift up your teacup.
That was a preemptive sip. Because I know. Continue.
No, I'm pausing. I'm going to let you take the reins on this one.
No, keep going, because it's so. I will go next because there's a great comment that I want to bring into the conversation. So keep going with your thought.
My thought was really along the lines of how powerful it is when the collaboration is amongst folk that are doing the work, that have came to a certain, I hate making it a hierarchy, level or plane or consciousness around the work, that have put in the time, that, you know, or I find that sometimes people aren't available for that because they want to be paired up with folk that may not be at their level. So because they fear somebody's going to steal their shine or what have you. And it's like, no, the
Yeah.
power lies into all of this power coming together, right? That's more of what I was getting at in this space, is that there's not enough to go around, is what I see sometimes. And so the pairings or the collaborations that could be happening are like not happening. Or the ones that are, it's like, wait, this isn't iron sharpening iron, right? I wonder why that is. And it doesn't feel like this is a mentor bringing someone up. So what is this? What's really happening here, and why? You know, not that I spend my time watching people's collaborations and thinking that, but you know what I'm saying? I'm expressing this to say the power that lies in when you do recognize where you're at, own that, celebrate others, and come together into collaborating in that way, rather than collaborating with folks that are calling themselves masters that are not masters, right? Or call themselves whatever, and they're not quite there yet, or haven't embodied certain things yet. And so it's like a miss of what could have been in value for both people involved. Does that make any sense? For all parties involved, as well as their audiences. I don't know if I'm making any sense.
Yeah, no, that definitely does. It definitely does make sense. Yeah.
But what were you sipping on when I said?
Well, so, you know, you touched on it about how people may not also be representing themselves authentically, right? Like, so they're presenting one way, but then their character or their work ethic doesn't match that. And that was something that I specifically had to deal with, is just like, oh, and it, while frustrating, it helped me realize the things that were important to me. Like, because I am a beginner, I will be working with beginners, and that's fine. But who has good work ethic, right? Who actually is being honest about their capabilities, and is not embarrassed about it, is willing to learn and to grow, so that filmmaker can find others to bring in to fill in the gaps, right? Versus like, well, let me just puff myself up to be this, this, and this, and you actually can only do one of the three things that you say you can do.
We've experienced that.
Yes, we have. So, yeah, but the importance of that is key, and that does speak to, again, having a clear understanding of where you are as a person, so that even when you are reaching out to folks for a collaboration, you're also being authentic and being real, so that they can make a decision about whether or not they want to be involved with you.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. So. Because that is the thing. Like, and that's why I was like, I want to be clear that when I'm talking about levels, I'm not like someone's worth is more than someone else's because of them being in the game or learning more. Even in my, I'm happy to bring on a beginner or someone, who even in their beginningness has much more talent in that area than I do. And awesome. Like, we get to fill in those gaps, like you said. But don't tell me you can operate like a Red camera when all you've done is like shoot on your iPhone. No, you don't no. Right? Like, so there's a gap there, right? Like,
it costs too much money.
That's a lot of money I'm paying for this camera, and the lenses are double that. Like, don't come to me, So I feel you.
Yeah. Also, I do want to, before I get to this comment, you were saying how you don't like hierarchy. But see, this actually speaks to the thing about really respecting the process, because there is hierarchy that is healthy. And I think in general, we tend to take someone's abuse of a thing, money, power, etc., and make a blanket judgment on the thing itself. And it's like, well, no, there is a hierarchy of experience and knowledge and access to things. And this very much is true in traditional African religions. It's just like, no,
True.
if you don't have 10, 15, 20 years in something, you're not going to be privy to certain rituals or certain, like there is hierarchy that is necessary for everyone's safety and in respect to work that's put in. Now, of course, that doesn't need to be abused, but regardless, I think where we can wiggle, where we start to allow ourselves to wiggle on that is where we will wiggle either with ourselves or with others that we might be collaborating with. And it's just like, well, no, what actually is your experience? Is character matching up with experience as well, right? But
people with a lot of experience that I do not want to freaking work with.
Right. And that's where the nuance can come in. But I always had that in mind when people like get up in arms about like hierarchy and like leadership and all this stuff. And it's just like, just because somebody has been stewarding certain things incorrectly does not mean that that thing is not valuable and that it's not necessary, because it is.
Yeah, no, that's a word. That's a word. You're right. You're absolutely right with that. And my going, ooh, hierarchy, you're right. Because I'm tapping into it as how it's been used and abused in a way to subjugate, right? A power over when it's truthfully and when it's healthily regarded, it is about, no, I actually have this many years of experience with this, and I am a master, or whoever's speaking, I'm a master, and this person is a beginner. And that is a hierarchy. That doesn't mean that this person is less than or less worthy than. It's just the facts. Right?
Yeah. And that, listen, the film world is literally a microcosm of showing the positive, negative experiences of that, because you can have a director that really sits in that place of honoring everybody at all levels, regardless of what they do. And then those who are just like, oh, you're a PA, you go clean that up. Right? Like you're the help, like it. So it gets shown real quick. It's like a very concentrated exposure of like what really is underlying in people's perspectives about other human beings and about what they do and what their role is.
And if they're valued by that person, right? Like,
yeah.
It's this, I'm all, when I used to date. I'm still dating, y'all. I'm single. But
yes.
Hey, but yeah. But dates like witnessing how the person treats the waiter. It's like, oh, okay, all right. Right away. Yeah. If this person is about hierarchy, power over, abuse of, or respect of others, period. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because trust and believe, that will translate to how they treat you eventually.
Trust. Trust.
Especially when we talk about, heterosexual men and women. All right, let me go back to this comment. So it says, I also see many folks taking on the personality or characteristics of their various teachers, almost enmeshing as a way to emulate that energy.
I see that.
Yeah, I see it too. And that, that speaks to, well, it'll tie into our title for today, which is Welcome Home, because that's where we ended last time. That speaks to a person's sense of self, as well as how the teacher or whoever, manager, supervisor, coach, is showing up as well too. So there's responsibility on both sides. But for the person who is doing that is speaking to a lack of sense of self and a lack of being. A lack of seeking love and approval of self rather than validation of good work done. right? So like the work that's being done gets conflated with self identity.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, oh, if I do this good job, or if I show up perfectly and mimic perfectly what I'm being taught, or how I'm being trained or whatever, then I'll be loved and accepted by this person in authority, because that's what I need to feel good about myself, rather than learning what's there to learn and bringing my authenticity to the thing and allowing for difference, because there should be difference if it's me showing up.
Right.
If people can't see me, they see the other person, that's a problem.
Yeah. And I think I agree with everything you said. And I think it has a lot more to do with the authenticity factor, like not feeling like either not knowing yet, like really truly who you are. Like I think a lot of it is that. A lot of it is like the emulation is because I don't have, my own words yet, or I'm not, I'm not trusting my own words yet. I'm not trusting my own interpretation, my own perspective of the work. Right. So some of it is that. Some of it is like, oh, this person is still finding their authentic voice. And so sometimes I think you see that, and that's natural. It's like they're coming out, they're saying the same things their coach did, or they're, doing the same opening, woohoo, or whatever it is, right? So some of that, it's like, I get it. And you're finding your authentic voice. And then some of it, yes, I don't know how much of it is trying to impress the coach or whoever it is, mentor, whoever they're looking up to, whoever they were taught by. I think it does have to do with authenticity. And I think as a beginner, there is a fear sometimes that your voice, your perspective is not enough when it is. And I think I've been there. I have. I don't think I've been emulating necessarily anybody that I've been working with. But I definitely, especially when I first started coaching, which was not that long ago, well, professionally, I think I've been coaching for a long time, but professionally, and there was like part of it was like, oh, well, what is my voice in this? Like, because at the end of the day, none of the knowledge, y'all, is new. None of it. Like, it's ancient wisdom, right? So everybody, for the most part, is saying the same damn thing. And it's not theirs. It's not new. It really, the power is who it's like, the channel it's coming through. And the clearer that is and the more authentic that is, you're going to naturally attract the folk that are destined to work with you, and vice versa, because the folks I work with impact me just as much as me holding the container is impactful for them.
Yeah.
So I think so much of it is really just trusting your voice. And at first people are starting to find it, and that's okay. It's when you are hijacking somebody else's literal template and wanting to say it's yours, which there's a lot of that too, where I'm like, oof, you're not even trying to be authentic here. You're just trying to repeat and be like, hopefully I make a lot of money from this, right?
Yeah.
Which still I have compassion for you, because it just means you really don't trust your own power. But yeah, it definitely taps into authenticity, but I also think beginners, like, they're finding their way. They're not embodied yet.
Yeah.
You're not, it reeks when you're not embodied, not in a bad way. Reeks isn't a great word, but you can see it right away because it hasn't been lived yet. It's in the head, it knowledge wise, but it hasn't seeped into the soil of the body and been lived yet.
Yeah.
So it can't come out authentically. It still sounds like you're reading a script, or it sounds like you're repeating what you heard, or you're saying a meme that you saw earlier that day on Inner Sun Alchemy. Right, whatever it is. So,
no, and I think yes, all of that. And I think the because I'm sure invariably, there's a thing about like, well, how do I am I good?
Sorry about that. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I can't hear you for some reason.
I see you and hear you fine. Did you have a call come in or a text?
Hold on.
For folks who are here live, are you seeing and hearing me?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Will you talk for me?
I can hear you and I can see you.
Sorry, let me get my earphones. Maybe that'll help.
Okay. For the folks who are joining here live, are you having issues seeing me, hearing me, or Diahnna? Is anything off or anything weird on your side of things? Let us know. Okay, you can see and hear both. Stream is looking clear. I came back to sitting in my usual spot because last week I was in a different area and the Wi-Fi is not that great in the city that I live in, so I could see the video was splotchy last time. So I'm back over here. Hopefully everything is still looking clear.
I'm going to log back in because I can't hear you. I'll be right back, okay?
Okay. All right. How's everybody doing? Did everybody have fun, in quotes, with that full moon in Cancer? Or was it as uncomfortable for you as it was for me? It definitely became easier when I chose to enjoy the day off because I had the privilege to do so and not push myself. So that was helpful. All right.
Okay, I can hear you. Sorry about that.
Okay. Yeah, you were fine, I guess. Did you have like a call or a text come in?
A call came in.
Oh, okay.
And for some reason I couldn't. And now I'm just falling apart all the way around.
It's all good. Yeah, okay, everybody can see us and hear us, so that's good. Oh, but so the to speak to the authenticity piece and the embodiment, that comes through when you allow yourself to fully have the experience that you're having with the thing and really honoring that and centering that. That's how you can recognize and live in that authenticity. And I think when the focus is so much concerned on let me do whatever it is I'm supposed to be doing perfectly, rather than do what needs to be done and see how it's impacting me.
Mm-hmm.
And letting the impact be my teacher, not the person.
Well, and that also is the perspective of understanding that if you're doing something to make it perfect, ultimately you're still doing it for the approval outside of yourself.
Yeah.
Rather than if you're doing something to really be in the experience of being curious about how it impacts you, that's still an inner outer game. You're paying attention to the experience of it, literally. And I mean, that's what the difference is between everything, right? Whatever, you're either playing an outer inner or an inner outer. You're trying to get the love from outside of yourself, or you're actually going within. You're expecting someone else to come and play Captain Save-A-Ho in your life, whether it be a teacher, a coach, a man, a woman, whatever, rather than saving your own damn life. Like straight up, right? Sorry, y'all, the street's still there, no matter what.
You would not apologize ever.
So it's, it's what game you playing? And we're human. So within a day, I can slip into some of that victim consciousness, catch myself without beating myself up and be like, oh, that's interesting. You went back there with that. You were thinking, oh, damn, this person's gonna, whatever it is. And then you shift, come back to the truth, come back to owning your life and really owning your power, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the practice always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. I feel like there's one more thing I wanted to say on that, but I think we'll move on for now because this time is already burning through. So, so I had actually, I know you had a topic you wanted to touch on, and then I had two other questions that like popped up. So, so we'll go back and forth. I'll start with one question, and then we'll go to your question and circle back to mine, and that will probably be our time.
Time goes too quick. I need more time with you, girl.
Listen, gotta keep it tight.
Keep it tight.
So one of the questions that I've gotten at times in my life um, is some variation on how did you become so confident or trusting in yourself and like that kind of thing, right? So I was sitting with that to ask, for us to sit with and like, oh, when did you really become confident in self, right? Then I was like, we're always like circling back in some kind of way. Like there is that within a day, right, thing that can happen.
For
So
sure.
a different question came through, still related to the same concept idea. And this was, when did maintaining my confidence become a non-negotiable?
That's a very different question. And a powerful one. I love that because I think it points to, it's such a good question. It points to exactly the difference, what you were saying. We're human. So there's going to be times where we slip out and we feel insecure and what have you. So the maintaining, I'm still working on it. If to answer the question for myself, yeah, I'm still working on it. And in some areas, I'm like, you can't tell me shit, right? In others, it's like, ooh, it's like, okay,
So
let's
the
look at
question
what
though,
that.
it's
Ooh,
not about like that confidence never falters, but like the choice to maintain it.
right.
When did that shift where it's become like, no, I'm making this non-negotiable.
I'm
I'm
choosing.
actually gonna choose to do that. Like what what at what stage of your life did that shift? Can you feel into where that shift happened? Because you're
Mhm,
right, yes, we are human, we're gonna do it, but
yeah.
we didn't necessarily have that voice or that deep
Honestly, for me, I think that was like late 30s. I'm 44 now, y'all. I think
mm,
that was like late 30s. And by 40, it was like non-negotiable, right? But I think it was late 30s. Damn it, I keep trying to, there we go. My bad. I got to find a way to make no notifications come up on this joint. But yeah, I think like when I just drop in, it's like, no, that was late 30s. Like a certain moment isn't coming up, but in
mm,
my body, late 30s.
mm.
I think I just got to a point, kind of goes back to what I said, where I realized, oh, yeah, no one's coming to save you. Like I knew that, but really, because I think sometimes too, when I'm always like having a vision, right? So you really understand what you're really wanting to create in this lifetime, what have you, all that's great. But sometimes that can get distorted because you're thinking it can switch into, once I get that thing, or once the lover shows up or the partner shows up, or what, then I get to be happy, or then I'm whole enough, or then I'm enough. And that's dangerous. So it's like I had to finally let go of that illusion that we've been fed and are still fed so much, right? Whether it be in music, whether it be wherever you look, it's like something outside. I was like, no, it was you coming in, it's going to be you going out. So what are you choosing for yourself?
It was you coming in, it's gonna be you going out.
It's I mean, that is the truth. Like the most important relationship, friend, lover, enemy, all of it is with you. And therefore it's with yourself, then it's with the divine, as far as I'm concerned. So I really had to just be real with that. I think that's really, and that was after many failed relationships, and you know getting really clear on the word friend, um,
Mm,
uh, having stronger boundaries around who and what I allowed in my life, and then being really, it's really, I know choose you is trendy now, but I've always said that. It's like, choose you. You really are you got. So if you're not making the choice to be like, actually, no. And it is a choice in every moment. It's like, am I choosing to be the victim who really, I don't know. Like that's something last night I was thinking about with this full moon. I was like, this whole, like, I'm not sure. I don't know. That's bullshit. Yes, you do, Diahnna. Yes, you do. It's just a way of you distracting yourself and acting like you don't have what it takes, or you don't have the knowledge, or you don't have, and if you don't have the knowledge, you know somebody who does. So bullshit, you know? Again, choose you. No, I do know. Yes, I am worthy. Yeah, you know what? I still look damn good, even as I get older, right? Whatever it is, like, you're your biggest cheerleader.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to learn to be that. And I'm saying all this, and not to say you're meant to do it alone, because you're not. I'm not saying that. But at the end of the day, you are sitting with you. So if you don't learn how to be your own savior,
That
not fun.
Yeah, no,
What
and
about you?
that was a choice I made early in my 20s, and it was just like, you know, I see people doing this work later in life when they're having their quote unquote midlife crisis, and you know, ultimately I made a choice of like, I'm not going to suffer for decades and then the latter part of my life decide to actually show up for myself the way I know I'm supposed to and like act right. So let me do this work now, even though no one else around me is doing this, especially at this age, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And see where life takes me after that. But you do have to radically center yourself. Because, and that's the thing, is it's understanding like,
But do you think that choice came in your 20s, or the embodiment of it came later? Because
the choice and the embodiment, because it was during my my healing journey when I had one of many divine encounters, but when I was at my lowest point with depression and really had a very, and I've talked about this a few times, but had a very honest conversation with God of like, you know, basically, if with God all things are possible, then I want to be healed. Like, I don't want to be still doing this, managing whatever this is 10 years from now. Like, that's not healing. Like, I want freedom. I want myself back. And I'll do whatever it takes on my end to do that and make use of the resources available to me. But this is my expectation. And I was really clear about that. And I was like, if this is not going to happen, then my life is not going to be a testimony for you. Like, this was the conversation.
that is beautiful. I don't think
I was at that place, not from like, it was I was facing really dropping off into the void.
Yeah.
Like, had been contemplating.
It wasn't a pretty point.
No, it was not a pretty point, but that's why the conversation could be so honest.
Well, and I love that, because I feel like part of the evolution of our evolution is being able to have those honest is for those conversations to always be honest. It's like, even, you know, I have some clients like write a resentment letter to God or whatever they define the higher power, because they've never done that. I'm like, you're acting like you're people pleasing God. That don't make no damn sense. Right? But it can be as simple as you declaring and then keep showing up. It really is that simple.
Yeah.
Like, you declared it. Right? But then you showed up. You showed up to do the work consistently. And you still do.
Yeah.
But I think there's something in a declaration as well as a questioning. Like, all right, I'm drawing the line in the fucking sand. If this is the truth, okay, I'm going to say, all right, it's the truth, and let's do this. But I ain't playing anymore, because I'm about to take myself out if that's not the case, right?
Real talk. Like, actually.
No, I'm acknowledging that. Like, you were at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's also interesting to see how the patterns of other maladaptive behaviors and ways of orienting to the world continue to show up with the universe. So what has been showing or become more aware in my mind recently is those parts of myself that still make the relationship transactional. Meaning, if I'm always consistent with certain practices, if I'm always doing certain kind of prayers, if I'm always doing certain kind of rituals, then that earns me the right to be blessed. And if I slip up on that, it's just like, oh shit. Right. And Spirit's like, that's for you, not for me. Full stop. Like, that's for you. Those are things to bring you fulfillment and to help keep you in center with the truth of reality. I'm not deficient. I don't need
There's
to
no
be
need in me. There's
there's
no
need
need.
in me,
Yeah.
right? And so like still, I mean, it's definitely not as hard as that was back in my 20s, but still watching that and catching myself of like how that belief will really creep in. It's just like, oh, I didn't do this, or like I'm just like, yo, like it's okay. This is not your father.
Well, that, and I love that you bring this up, because it's what the song that's going in my head right now is like, he knows when you've been sleeping, he knows when you're awake. That's all that is. It's that whole fucking paradigm that has been shoved down our throat, that Santa Claus is some white man in the sky, because it's not even just a man, it's a white man in the sky. And then some of us, I have some black Jesus in our house, but you know what I'm saying? Like, at the end of the day, it's still this belief in separation. And also belief, if I'm a good girl, or if I perform correctly, or if I do these performances right, then I will be blessed. Then I'll get my gift. Then I'll be on Santa Claus's good girl list. And that's still something I have to catch myself in. Like, I remember there was a long period, I don't know, it was about 5 years ago, where I literally was beating myself up. Like, something's wrong with me because I'm not doing my practices consistently. And so, I mean, I'm literally creating stories, creating bad shit to happen. That's me doing that shit, right? Like, oh, I didn't do that. So I bet you, like, I don't deserve what I'm really desiring because I didn't go and I broke my 40-day sadhana, right? Like, Spirit's like, I'm here, the flow is always here. I'm here. Like, you ain't got to do shit to access that. You need to get out the way. And sometimes the practices even get in the way.
Listen.
So I constantly, like, I have to recognize that, though, because sometimes my resistance is so big, and I know that sitting my butt on my mat, I'm going to feel better. So even with myself and with clients, I'm like, if it doesn't make you feel good, I don't want you to do it. Your main job is I want, like, you doing things that make you feel good. And I don't mean to bypass when you feel like shit, but in general, like, if your practices are starting to make you feel like then stop it. Spirit is not in the practices. Those are tools to help you get into a state to receive the truth that Spirit is right here, closer than your neck vein is your breath itself. But no.
And also, they all have their timing.
Yeah.
So some of the things that we engage in might not be needed right now. And can we not be so regimented to think that like this thing is supposed to serve me at every stage and development and experience of my life, and instead being like, this is what's here now, I'm going to rock with it. And if things start to shift, instead of being like, oh, there's something wrong with me and I'm slipping on this practice, it's like, take a step back instead and ask yourself, what's different in my life now? How am I actually shifting and growing? Because that's going to speak to different needs.
That's what I was going to say. My next question would have been like, what do I really need? Yeah. Yeah. But like you said, taking that step back and really looking at, okay, what is present here right now? Or what has shifted in my life? And usually it is something that's shifted drastically. Like, you don't need that certain meditation that was taking you out of your depression when you've come through your depression and you're in a different place.
Listen.
No, of course that meditation is not going to serve you. Of course it's not, because you're not in the same place you were. And it served you then. Okay, we can let go of that tool. You can actually just be without any tools for a minute and settle into what it feels like to be there.
You don't always need to be fixed.
You don't need to be fixed ever.
Ever. But, we can work on practicing getting ourselves out of the way, right?
Right.
But yeah, like if a tool actually did what it's supposed to do, can you say goodbye?
Yeah.
Or are you going to hang on to that person like you hang on to that supposed friend or that man past its time?
And I know I know for me that there's been a lot of that evaluation happening during, Venus retrograde. Is like
Mm.
relationship with self, relationship with spirit, just what you were talking about, me noticing when, I'm making the practice God. Like if we want to talk about idolatry, false idols, the practice God or the partner that I'm calling in God, right? It's like, okay, where are your false idols at? What is your relationship truly, right? So really looking at relationships in that way, the first one being with yourself. um that's been happening. It's been beautiful and painful and confronting,
Mm.
even with some very long-term relationships that I'm evaluating right now, because of the lack of presence of them, where I'm like, maybe it's just time that they're not in my life anymore. I don't know. Like, I'm just being very curious right now,
Mm.
because we can tend to hold on to things that, it's like having rotting food in the refrigerator. You just open the fridge, you just don't look at that food because you ain't cleaning it up yet. That's me anyway. Sometimes, right? When I'm really out of integrity with what's happening, right? It's like I'm just not going to look at it. That's what I'm getting, and that's fresh, right? It's like, no, you got to clean out the fridge, babe. Shit's rotting. Anyways, that was a great analogy. I'm not dirty, y'all, I promise you. um,
Well, no apologies ever, but also that's not a dirty thing. What you're speaking to is how our physical environment reflect what's going on inside. So that's a place where we got to catch. It's like, oh, if that's being judged as dirty, that's what's being judged as dirty.
mm-hmm.
And it's just like recognizing, like, I just don't want to deal with this right now. I'm just going to accept it. I will throw it out when it's time, but I'm just not at that place right now.
Yeah. And not being at that place right now does not mean that you're not worthy. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Yeah. But our physical world tells us a lot.
Oh yeah.
Tells us a lot. And sometimes it can be to a point where people will notice when they come into your space. But if you've been doing a lot of work, or if you're really good at performing, they won't be able to see. But you'll know when things are off in your space.
Well, that's the thing. That's why it's like you can do all the performing all you want. Again, you came in alone, you going out alone. You got to be with you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, self-love is real.
Mm-hmm.
It's real.
Yeah. So then is that does that get into the question that you had, or like kind of resolve the stuff
Oh
around?
yeah, no, it's interesting because I like had that question yesterday when we were like, oh, what are we gonna discuss? And then like by the end of yesterday, I was like, no, I'm good on that. I hope she comes up with something else. I do feel like I know for myself and a few other people that I've spoken to, like for me, this full moon energy, I feel like I'm coming out of the heaviness that I've been in around the heart. And there's been some veils lifted, clarity, even if it's stuff I didn't want to see, right? So there's clarity, which always gives you clarity so you can make a choice, right? So just feeling a lot lighter since the shift of energy yesterday. So that question has been answered in different ways for me. Yeah. So I'm not even in that question anymore.
Yeah. All right. So I don't even know if I should end with this, but I will, because I like to give us cliffhangers. Who are you? And so this question is about, and this is coming back to, because the time that we're having these conversations are so much around home and family and ancestry and lineage and inheritance and all that, right? So this who are you question is about what those qualities, gifts, talents are as an indication of the legacy of our families.
Mm. Mm.
And knowing that, like, oh, I'm a creative, I'm an artist. That's not mine. Like, that's actually in my roots. in recognizing that. So yeah, who are you? Who am I? So,
Listen, I'm learning a lot right now with my, I'm very blessed and lucky because I have both grandparents alive on my maternal side. And over the holidays, and through the new year, I spent, a couple of weeks living with my grandparents and taking care of them. And I've gotten many stories over the years, but got a lot of stories this time and probed on purpose, right? And just hearing, well, first and foremost, the freedom that I have right now because of their sacrifices. Yes, there's like, I remember some of my great aunts, Aunt Diahnna, who was hilarious and definitely was an artist, but I have the freedom to pursue that. They didn't have the freedom to pursue this stuff, I come from a lineage of very strong women who I'm part of that strength was rooted in also, I don't need anybody but myself. And I'm the one breaking that part of it. I come from resilient, very, I come from linguists like my grandmother. That woman is the grammar queen, and she also is a singer. She had a voice, but very like opera, I don't, what's the word? Operatic. Thank you. Versus like, gospel soul, which is interesting. I come from really caring folk who have taken in a lot of people and like, nope, your family. This is a question that could go on forever, girl. I can't. All I know is that I'm gonna percolate on it though. There's more. There's so much to.
There's a lot there, and so the question is rooted in seeing what is naturally showing up for us in terms of our gifts, our talents, as what the lineage is. So it's less about like, okay, well, I don't really know much about them or like what their life like or whatever, and just trusting, understanding that you are the amalgamation of all the things. Yes. So what are all the things that show up for you? That's your lineage. That's who you are as well. Right. So yes, the linguist and the artist and the strong woman and
absolutely. Absolutely. And then on the paternal side, that I'm learning about now, very much so artist. And I'm like, oh, my father, my biological father, straight up artist, basically, didn't pursue it in that way, but, still create music, write music, singing, done it, like created a couple films. I was just like, what? Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm really experiencing that on a fresh new, like, for real, like I just met this person, right? Like it's biological, just like, oh, all of these things. I'm like, oh shit. Yeah, that is part of me for sure,
Yes.
Yeah,
same for me. I am an artist in both contexts. So artist in terms of creating something new that has not been an example, as well as an artist that takes what already is present and arranges it in a new way or in a presentable way. And that usually comes out with like hosting and like all the things like that shows up in food and drink for me. But it might be like, flower arrangement or like, designing clothes or things like that. Right. So both sides of that artistry, as well as someone who builds community through clusters, relationships, like that is a thing. Being a merchant, being a teacher, Like,
Yeah.
these are definitely all part of lineages, and I'm literally a combination of all those things, like for real. So yeah, I think that to, you know, close out our time today, for me, this has been, as I've been sitting with this question, because obviously it came through first, so I was able to spend more time with it beforehand. But it's, given how we started with, or we ended with the thing about welcome home at the end of our second conversation, and then coming to this place of like, oh, we've actually always been home.
Mm.
And we just have deeper and deeper revelations of things that make up home, but we've never actually been separated from our family because we're always bringing through the best of our family.
That's so beautiful.
And we're always home. We
Mm.
like to have names to certain things, right? We like to have the specifics of like, okay, this person did this, right? Like we want that. But we're never actually separated. Like we can't literally, we can't. So it's just a nice, pleasant surprise when we get to see like, oh, you're the one that's
Right.
this.
Like,
Okay.
oh, that's
what
what's
this
happening for me now. I'm like, oh my God. You know, or even like when I was staying with my grandparents on the holiday, and then there was so much I didn't find out, like I didn't know, you know, I was like, really? Oh, or even patterns. And I think I brought that up before, you know, like my great grandmother didn't know who her father was. My granddaddy didn't know who his father was. And I'm like, oh, this patterning. And there's a whole bunch of stuff on top of that. We know that when it comes to that, but
yeah.
but it's still a pattern, right? And so it's just like, wow. Or even this, the modesty that's been carried down that I definitely didn't get, but the modesty that's been carried down from like my great grandmother, Luna Bell Hill, to my grandma now, who is having to depend on people because of the falls and what she's broken to help her, like go to the, you know, undress and what have you. And that is something that is just so, she will risk falling again before she will let someone see her with her underpants on, you know, like forget even the underpants being off, but like, just like, oh, this is so interesting. And also that's rooted in some other stuff too, right?
I mean, it's just blatant trauma. Like it's
Blatant trauma.
and the not knowing a father, I know we can get so, I'll make sure we stop, but I know we can get so upset about that, but like that is a pattern that was not started with us because we didn't know our father, or we did, and it was a slave owner.
Hello.
Or if we didn't, then it might have been somebody that was forced to breed.
That's what I was going to say. Exactly. It was forced. It was
So
not.
it's just like, it's not, the story is not just deadbeat dad.
No,
Like,
absolutely not. That's why I was like, we could go into that because that has nothing to do with daddy didn't feel like being around, right? That's no.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And the modesty makes sense because it's just like, well, one, the patriarchal religious culture associated. But also as a form of protection, because I know I embody that, like, don't see me sexually because of sexual abuse thing. So like, I'm not going to dress a certain way. I'm not going to present too feminine because I don't want to be noticed. Still got noticed anyway. Still got traumatized anyway.
Of course. Yeah,
but
we know it has nothing to do with that. But of course,
right.
If this way is going to help protect me.
Yes,
right?
Recognize that for sure. Mm-hmm. So no, yeah.
So yeah, it's recognizing all of that. Like, okay, wow. But yeah, I love that. And I know we have to wrap up, but I love, again, the truth that we're always home's here, always.
Welcome
and we
home.
get to keep choosing that. So
yeah. Welcome home.
Welcome home.
All right. So we have one more conversation.
No! Bring me back like next quarter, please. For real, because we'll be like, oh my God, remember when the year first began and then da 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 da. No. This has been and is so much fun. I love this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you. Yeah. So this is our first time not having a cliffhanger for next week. So we'll see what pops up I know there's actually a lot shifting this week astrologically. Of course, we had the full moon yesterday. Today, Uranus goes direct, and then we have the North Node transiting tomorrow, I believe, technically. So yeah, there's a lot shifting. So we'll see what comes up for our conversation next week. Of course, for folks who are watching here, either live or on the recording, feel free to post a comment at the video and drop some topics that you might want us to delve into for our convo. Yeah, and I'll make sure to center those in for next time. Any closing thoughts from you?
Just to everyone out there, just be gentle with yourselves. There's a lot of shifts, like you said, happening right now. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. Don't let the hype of Happy New Year make you feel like you're behind. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. Be gentle with yourself, and the only constant is change.
Yeah. I concur. And I would say, to piggyback off of that, continue to maintain a slower pace this month. Things are definitely going to start to pick up a little bit, but it's only going to be a little bit. Like, really take your time, really respect, for those of us in the Northern Hemisphere, the winter season. Yeah. Folks in the spring season or summer season, actually, like, you should be fine. But for us in the winter, like, still take your time. We won't really feel fully like we're in our new vibe until we are in Pisces season and shifting into Aquarius. But we're going to need that transitional month to really feel like, the energy is picking up. So lean into the space, lean into the time, because that's actually what will continue the momentum, not the pushing. Yeah. Okay. But yeah, other than that, this was a great convo. I wrote so many things down, so I'm gonna have difficulty picking out a clip to share because there were so many good moments in this. All right, y'all. Love you so much. Please, of course, subscribe to the channel, like the video, share. Also, as always, Diahnna's information is in the description box. So if you want to reach out to work with her or me, our websites are there, as well as our Instagram handles. So definitely follow us. Sign up for our newsletters on our website, because that's always most secure, because social media is not. And yeah, let's circulate our dollars. Yeah. Right, so love y'all much. Have a great day. Bye, everybody.